Hey everyone, Tommy here with Sent Missional Church Community, and today we want to answer the question, how should followers of Christ respond to chaos? And this is a particularly relevant topic, especially in the world today where there's a lot of chaos going on around us. And we're going to be in Hebrews chapter 12. And if you want to pause the video and read through the whole chapter, it'll give you a lot of context. But I'm just going to read the first few verses. And this is what Paul says to the church. He says, "Since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us also lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us, looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted." When we think of chaos, chaos is really a byproduct of the sinful hearts of mankind, in which we are all responsible, we are all guilty. When I think about the chaos in the world, there's a lot that we could look to be able to respond to it. But I really narrow in on two principles from these verses that we should look at. And so really, when we look at clinging to Jesus and throwing off the weight of the world that is trying to cling to us, what it is basically going back to that thing that we have placed our hope into. Colossians 3 tells us to think on things above, to put on Christ, to not put on the things of the world, which include things like fear, malice, anger. And chaos in the world, especially around us, can make us angry. It can make us bitter. And so the first thing we need to do is to cling to Christ. And then the second thing to do is to bring the message of reconciliation into the world. We don't concern ourselves with the things of the world. And this doesn't mean that we don't engage in our community around us. The Bible is very clear that we should seek the welfare of our cities, of our communities, because it will ultimately benefit us as well. But we don't get caught up in the fear, the panic, the chaos, because we have an eternal hope in Christ. And this is a hope that we have put our confidence in. In fact, in Romans, Paul goes on to say that we belong to a kingdom that cannot be shaken. The worldly kingdom, the fleshly kingdom can be shaken, and we've seen that all around us. But the spiritual kingdom of Christ cannot be shaken because Christ is in all, he is also above all, and he is in control of everything. So this should give us peace and comfort as we go out and carry this message of reconciliation into the chaos. If in response to everything that's going on, you find that your heart is responding to the chaos in a very worldly way, to throw off the weight that is clinging to you and to put on Christ and to cling to him and remember that he is the founder and perfecter of your faith. Paul goes on to encourage us to not grow weary or faint-hearted, but to consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself. When we look at the craziness in the world, it's easy to be fearful, it's easy to be angry, it's easy to get caught up in it all. And in those moments, we need to look back to Christ, who experienced the most chaotic thing that could ever happen to someone, an innocent man dying on the cross and bearing the whole sin, taking on the whole of that chaos into his body. And if we can look to Christ in those moments and we can see the hope that we have in him who has conquered all of this for our sake, then we can begin the process of reconciliation and of healing. Because ultimately, we are either going to be conformed to this world or transformed by the renewing of our minds. And so we have a message of hope. We have a message of stability, of eternal confidence. And this message will be our responsibility to carry into a world that is getting caught up in that chaos. And we do that as a church together, those who have been brought into the kingdom of Christ.